Hello, dear judges. We're from National Taiwan University. Today, we're going to present our analysis on WeChat Pay. Before we begin, I would like to take some time to walk you through our presentation today. First of all, after reading and analyzing the case, we came to a conclusion that the problem waiting to be solved is how should WeChat Pay adjust its current services to fulfill SMEs' pain points and become the first choice of receiving money payments on the market. And in order to answer this question, we came up with two solutions, which is first, decrease the cost of using WeChat Pay for the SMEs, and second, increase the benefits of using WeChat Pay for the SMEs as well. After introducing the details and how to implement our solutions, we will move on to the risk analysis and what kind of mitigation strategies we will use to cope with them. Okay, now let's move on to our first section, defining the problem. The SMEs in China make up a large part of its economy, where it accounts for 90% of all companies and contributes up to 60% of total GDP. These SMEs are spread out in all segments of the market, which includes retailers, restaurants, barbershops, and such. The problems with these SMEs are that they often lack funding due to their small scale, sometimes lack business agility because of restrained resources, and sometimes even lack digital savvy. All these problems led to a high failure rate overall and became worse due to the COVID pandemic. So, WeChat wants to take these SMEs under its wings. It wants to be the #1 choice on the market when it comes to receiving money payments. And by using WeChat Pay, WeChat hopes to make it easier for entrepreneurs to start their own business by providing payment channels and digital solutions in managing business. And along the way to the top, incorporate their ESG strategies to fulfill social responsibilities and become a company that does well by doing good. However, WeChat faced multiple setbacks when trying to penetrate the SMEs. First, many SMEs lacked digital knowledge to realize the value or even make use of WeChat Pay's multiple functions. Second, in small SMEs, making sure the amount is correct during transactions is difficult and troublesome, even with the help of audio confirmation that WeChat Pay later on facilitated. Last but not least, the complicated and time-consuming onboarding procedure of registering as a commercial customer also scared off multiple SMEs as well. Due to all the reasons mentioned above, the utilization of WeChat Pay in SMEs isn't high, marking a gap between its end goal of being #1. So, we believe that the problem statement of WeChat Pay is, how should WeChat solve the current SMEs pain points and become the first choice in the market of receiving money payments? In order to answer this question, we have come up with two solutions, and I will pass my time to my teammate, Evan, to introduce the first one. Please, Evan.
Thank you, Alan. And now we will move on to our first solution. We consider it important to decrease the using cost by addressing the pain point. Our solution 1 targets those who may be with the following properties: living in the Tier 5 village, elder merchants, or those lack access to education of digital transformation. We summarize 3 pain points of these people. First, lacking of digital savvy, which causes them to not use WeChat Pay for fear of their wealth or privacy being stolen through QR code, although it is impossible to happen. To solve this pain point, we think that an educational program teaching those merchants how to use WeChat Pay and basic knowledge of mobile payment might be helpful for acquiring new users and erasing their safety concerns. This program can be underdone in collaboration with WeCounty, a sub-organization of Tencent, which is devoted at teaching rural people digital knowledge. Secondly, as the case mentioned, the payment confirmation might have the merchants check their cell phones frequently to ensure that the customer's payment are correct, leading to effectiveness in their business. We think preparing a low-cost Bluetooth wristband for them is an effective way to solve the problem. Since after they receive the wristbands, by installing WeChat Pay into it and linking with the merchant account, all they have to do is to raise their hand and check every transaction on their bands once the purchase is done, which is much more convenient compared to checking payment information on the cell phone app. Lastly, as most of these merchants are busy at daily operations, the onboard process of adopting WeChat Pay might be too complicated for them. Thus, we simplify the process. Before using WeChat Pay, the registration process can be lessened by requiring only the necessary data. For instance, for vendors without license, all they have to do to register are simply their personal ID card and the photos to prove the existence of their operation. What's more, after they start using WeChat Pay, we suggest to provide them different templates of report, such as accounting and management, based on their need, which make them more effective and easier to operate with WeChat Pay. For example, once a purchase is finished, it is recorded at the same time and out of field in our template, making the accounting process not time-consuming anymore. This is the end of our first solution. And now I will pass my time to Ian for the second solution.
Sorry, thank you, Evan. Yeah, so now we move on to our second solution, integrated payment. Integrated payment means that WeChat integrates its payment functionality, which is WeChat Pay, into some critical business management softwares. And by doing so, the softwares become much more useful by automatically reflecting transactions in bill management page and updating customer data in a CRM system, for example. These create a complete user experience for the merchants who use WeChat Pay, empowering them to better start and run their businesses. So let's take a deeper look into the SMEs market. SMEs market can be divided into several different markets, and merchants in these markets would all need some business management tools to better run their businesses when getting bigger and bigger. So we think WeChat can provide more business management tools for these merchants because this company, WeChat, has been dedicated in creating softwares in China for a long time. So it got sufficient money, IT resources, and most importantly, data to create innovative softwares compared to other payment companies in China. So how can WeChat implement integrated payment strategy? We think there are three ways to achieve that: vertical integration, third-party integration, and developer platform. The first implementation is vertical integration. To do this, WeChat can build a set for business management tools for the merchants. For example, many of its customers are only small or micro merchants. It's really difficult for them to borrow money from the traditional banking system because their sales volume are so small, which would incur higher risk to the traditional lender who relies on a very old credit score system to determine credit risk. Compared to them, WeChat knows these small merchants' cash flow very well by processing the payment every day. Gathering the data from about 72 million merchant users and over 1 billion transactions every day, WeChat can use these real-time data to build its own credit rating system and start a lending business by cooperating with some third-party banks, for example, giving the merchants access to much-needed funds the very next business day. So that is about the working capital loan. And next, WeChat can create a CRM system for its users. WeChat has consumers' personal information in its database. So every time you scan the QR code at WeChat's merchant, that merchant can access a profile showing how often you've visited the store, how long you've been a customer, and how much you've spent. Based on this information, WeChat can help the merchant to connect with her customer. For example, the seller can tailor a email marketing campaign for you, and moreover, validate these campaigns' efficacy by seeing if you come back to the store and how much you spend when you do. This is about CRM system. And last, there are still a lot left for WeChat to create. Like many barbershops and dentists would need an appointment system to manage their schedule. A lot of retailers and restaurants will need to pay their employees. So they do not need an appointment system, but a payroll system would be much helpful for them. Also, like many merchants now have the need to create their online shops and build an omni-channel shopping experience for their customers. So an online website builder integrated with WeChat Pay on the checkout page would hugely reduce the difficulty to start an online business. Yeah. So by combining payment functionality with other business tools, WeChat can empower its merchants and increase their user experience, all because of its technology power, huge user base, and the data it controls. But one should note that customer segmentation here is important. An appointment system is critical to a barbershop owners, while an inventory system is the one that a retailer truly needs. By building the vertical set of software from the bottom based on different markets, WeChat can hugely improve its customers' utility. And the second implementation is third-party integration. For example, WeChat can integrate its checkout payment solution with other website builders, online store, platform, and marketplace like Taobao, Jingdong, and Meituan. And WeChat acts as a single system of payment record for this commerce across offline and online channels. It helps WeChat to get access to larger user base when these third-party platforms and marketplaces grow. Larger user base means more data and customer feedbacks for WeChat to improve its own in-house softwares and further integration experience. Note that this solution can be accelerated by the interconnection of the internet industry in China. Yeah, so although a user, also it seems like a bad thing for WeChat because a user now can directly link to external services, for example, like Jingdong, but WeChat can still serve the user by integrating its payment solution to the checkout page of Jingdong. So the third-party integration actually turned the interconnection trend in China a benefit for WeChat. The third and final implementation is to provide open APIs for a platform for third-party developers. For example, WeChat can offer up its payment platform as an operating system where programmers can develop apps that address customized use cases. Seller can take what they need from WeChat's toolkits on the platform and connect it to the systems that they may already have run. Opening the platform to third-party developers will allow WeChat to offer more customized application for merchants. Also, there exists a two-sided network effect here. More developers means more applications for merchants, increasing the merchant's utility, which attracts more merchants to use WeChat Pay and its surrounding business tool to use all of these things. On the other side, more merchants means that developers can access to more potential customers through the platform. So more developers were willing to build their application on the platform. So the two sides of the platform reinforce the one another, creating a network effect here. And actually, WeChat has somewhat tried to implement the solution we just suggested. For vertical integration, it has WeCom and Business Tianpan. And for third-party integration, it has relationship with Jingdong and Meituan and so on. And for developer platform, it now has WeChat mini programs for the developer to provide customized products and services. However, we still see a large space for WeChat to improve. Take WeCom, for example. It's now more like Slack for business communication than the Square's dashboard for business management. Or Tianpan. If you look at its website, it seems like it's the one that we created 10 years ago and have never been updated since then, compared to the most popular fintech companies' website in the US, like Square, Play, or Stripe. So there's still a long way to go for WeChat. Next, after introducing both of our solutions, we will move on to the implementation timeline. We believe it will take about 6 years for the facilitation. Since creating the educational programs is cheaper and requiring less planning, we believe WeChat can start very soon in the process of changing and continue to facilitate it until the digital literacy of all SMEs are high enough. As for the respend for the merchants, we will take about 2 years to conduct surveys to gather needs and design the actual products. So we believe the implementation will start 2 years from now. Next, into the template. We estimate that it will take about 1 year to adjust the current registration system and create templates so that the onboarding process for users will be more convenient and less time consuming. Yeah. And about the second solution, like we mentioned, WeChat has been trying to build the business units for all the vertical integration, third-party integration, and developer platform already. So the timeline starts from now. But one should note that the product design and to improve the customer's user experience and the product iterations is critical here, because facing an intense competition in fintech industry, WeChat cannot slow down its innovation momentum, or it will lose its market share. Finally, all of our solutions can be linked back to the ESG standards WeChat proposed. We believe our solutions can not only solve the pain points currently existing in SMEs market, but also provides a long-term strategic suggestion to the company. By wielding its technology power and data from the huge user base, we believe WeChat can be has the potential to provide much higher utility for SMEs, making the tech for good slogan not simply a slogan anymore.
Okay, in the end, we will analyze the risk that WeChat Pay might face and how they could mitigate these problems. First, data security is the first priority because they have lots of personal information and merchants' information. As a software service provider, they have the priority to ensure any private data is well protected from hackers or other cyber attacks. To this risk, since they have operated for so many years and they could utilize their parent company, Tencent, technology to avoid potential attacks, we think the risk will be mitigated. Secondly, some people might conduct illegal transactions with WeChat Pay, such as illegal gambling funds. To this risk, we think WeChat Pay could strengthen the management of those individuals using personal payment codes for transactions, because the company has followed the government policies that separates the personal payment collection codes and personal business payment collection codes in March 2022. Under this separation, WeChat Pay could track the payments and find out the illegal transaction more accurately and fast. Lastly, providing loans to SMEs will face higher default risk than other larger companies. However, as WeChat Pay that has SMEs financial reports and the historical data of the business transactions, WeChat Pay can leverage the technological advantage of Tencent, such as algorithm to refine its credit sourcing criteria and provide adequate funds to SMEs. Therefore, we think the company can mitigate the risk
Thank
and
you.
help SMEs to achieve substantial growth.
Thank you for your presentation. Because the time is up now. It's now time for the Q&A session. Okay, judges, please make your questions short and concise and leave your thoughts and comments for the feedback session. The 15 minutes countdown starts now. Let's hear the first question.
I will kickstart with one. On the educational program, I'm quite interested in a bit more details on how we're going to implement that, because I think it could turn out to be quite a intensive, resource intensive program. So I wonder how we're going to organize that in such a big scale.
I will take this question. So I think to the judges means how we implement this program in such a big scale, or
yep.
Oh, okay. So we think that WeChat Pay can collaborate with their existing sub-organization and We County. So James, could you?
Okay.
Last page. Oh yes. And we choose to collaborate with We County and a sub-organization of Tencent, which is devoted at teaching rural people digital information. So we think, based on their existing scale, we can implement this program more effectively. Yes.
Right. I mean, I didn't know about this Wei County, and how does it actually work, right? What's the cost of educating? Is it going to be like someone face-to-face teaching the people in the rural area, or how? Do you know how this is going to work?
Oh, actually, we can only do the teaching by offline and online procedure. So, based on those people who may lack of the access of internet, we think offline procedure of teaching is necessary. So, and again, we think we can collaborate with We Counties, and we can use their existing resources to teach those people to use digital information and the basic knowledge of mobile payments.
Okay, cool. And do you know any idea why they haven't been doing that so far? Like for getting SME to use WeChat more?
Sir, I can take this. So actually, we think WeChat has been doing this for a long time. And actually, if you look at the whole payment industry in the world, China is actually doing really well. I think the QR code is really convenient for those consumers who don't have bank account or even a credit card, and they have the voice to confirm the payments. And we think that's a pretty intelligent design for those merchants. So and if you look at the penetration rate of mobile payments in China, it has grown from about 50% in 2015 to now it's about 85%. So that's a really high number. So based on this number, we think actually WeChat Pay and Alipay did some really good job on promoting the inclusive finance for those consumers in China. And but here still exist some pain points. So our solutions is trying to focus on these pain points and try to solve them. For example, like in the rural area, really rural area, those villages in China, currently, we county haven't spread their business, haven't reached their businesses to an operation to these villages. So if WeChat wants to achieve its ESG goal, it should somewhat try to expand the We County's operation and try to teach those villagers how to use smartphones, how to use internet, and how to use WeChat Pay in the end. And that's what these educational program all about. And and secondly, about the wristband. A wristband also target the same person, the same group of people. Those small SMEs, merchants who cannot have a shops or stand, or they need to like having transaction with their consumers face to face, and it's really difficult for them to hear those sounds because they may be a shopper in a traditional Chinese market. That's why we propose that WeChat should build a wristband, and they should issue this wristband for free to those traditional market shopper, because actually they do not have enough fund to buy an additional hardware. Yeah, and the main goal here is not to provide the profits for WeChat, but to fulfill its ESG goal. Yeah, I will take it. I will say that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. That's very well answered. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. With regards to your solution one, again, going back to this slide, right? So you said that you want to target the tier 5 cities and the elderly merchants, right? Have you done some analysis as to, the proportion of SMEs that's currently in tier 5 versus the 2, 3, and 4? And some cost benefit analysis as to why you are only targeting the tier 5s rather than the 2, 3s, and 4s.
Okay, I will take the question again. So since the city of tier 1 or tier 2, like Beijing and Shanghai, and their market is quite saturated. So why will the payment industry expand their business? We think that they should go to more rural area like tier 4 or tier 5 village, and where the market saturation is not quite obvious. So we think that we can target these areas to expand our business.
Yeah, and sorry, about the market analysis part. We actually only have the data from the SMEs market, but not from the tier. So we actually don't know. Like, to be honest, we now don't know how many merchants and how much transaction volume the SME has in the tier 5 county. But what we want to do here is to, like I said, provide a ESG goal. And furthermore, we propose a wristband. So what we truly try to do is we try to somewhat change the consumer behavior so that WeChat could provide a more convenient way for those merchants to receive payment. And the wristband can not only be applied on those really, really small merchants, but it can also be applied to other larger merchants, or even like Meituan's gig employees. So that's what we try to do. And yeah, sorry for that. We haven't done enough market analysis about how big the tier 5 cities merchants volume is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hi, I have a question. So, how does the wristband work? You mentioned there that you have the wristband, which will help to solve some of the issues with the payment. So, how does that work exactly?
Okay, thank you for the question, and I will take this question. So we believe that we would try to make a really cheap wristband, a wristband that would simply show the amount of money. It's a really simple LED screen, yes. And how this wristband would work is actually pretty simple. This is a Bluetooth equipped wristband, so you could connect it to your WeChat Pay app on the phone. So whenever you connect it with the WeChat Pay, so every time a customer scans your QR code and transfers some kind of money into your account, the amount would be shown immediately on our wristband, so the little LED screen. So you don't have to like open up your phone every time there is a transaction being made. So you would just have to, it's just like I'm looking up at your watch. So the checking of the confirmation of transaction will be much more easier this way. Yes, and that's how we believe the wristband will work. Thank you.
Okay, and kind of just to tag onto that as well. So I noticed on the timeline, it was quite a long timeline for rolling out the wristband and everything else. So I wondered, have you thought about whether you could do this in a more agile manner? So as the educational program is kind of rolled out in stages, you roll out the wristband so that you can kind of get feedback more quickly, because 6 years is a long time, right? It's all.
We believe that the timeline here means that we take 2 years to prepare for the actual production and the go-to-market of the wristband. So I believe this process can be shortened very well if we outsource the production to many other hardware stores such as Xiaomi. And we took 2 years because we believe that WeChat might do the development in-house. But if we were to outsource this production process, we might shorten the process to like 1 year or even half a year. Okay, I think that would be our solution.
Yeah, and
yes, please,
I want to add something. And we think WeChat can actually integrate its operation in WeCounty and another operation, which the name of this operation called Small and Medium-Sized Merchant Product Center. And it's a product team which is responsible for promoting the new products and collecting customer feedback from the customers. So by this way, WeChat can actually stretch their businesses to the like fifth tier city and use their original product team to create a better product for its merchants. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions from judges? We have only 1 minute, less than 1 minute left. Okay. Thank you all. The judges will now stay in the room to deliberate. Dear team, we will place you in the waiting room and bring you back in for the feedback session in a few minutes. Everyone else, please kindly leave the room, and we will see you later for the results announcement. Thank you.